Hi, in this session we will discuss HANA basics, VDMs, that is the virtual data models, then the KPI modeler, and how we can configure the analytic apps. So first of all, we will start with the introduction of the SAP Fiori app types. So as we all know that we have four types of SAP Fiori apps, that is the transactional apps, analytical apps, fact sheets, and SAP Smart Business. So basically the SAP Smart Business and Analytical, so we can sometimes join them and we call them as an analytical app. So my transactional apps are the task-based access. So the access task to create, change, approve processes with the guided navigation. Then we have the analytical apps, which are mainly for the insights. So let's say if we get a visual overview of a complex topic for monitoring or tracking purposes. Then we have the fact sheets, which are mainly for the search and explore. So the main motive of it is to view the essential information about an object with the contextual navigation between the related objects. Then we have SAP Smart Business. So SAP Smart Business is basically to provide the insight to the action cockpit. So we can do the analysis and we can evaluate the strategic or the operational KPIs in real time and trigger the right action on the basis of those KPIs. So we have already covered the configuration of the transactional apps and the fact sheets. So in this session, we will target the analytical apps and the SAP Smart Business apps. So what is SAP Smart Business? So SAP Smart Business is the new user experience for SAP Business Suite powered by SAP HANA. So combining the modern working models with our consumer grade usability. So this allows the key roles to stay on top of their business, making the better and the faster decisions by letting the end users touch, analyze, share, and act in the real time. So this new working model allows the real-time insights into the business details to allow for the better and faster decisions. SAP Smart Business has been built using the SAP UI5 and follows the same responsive design principles which we have discussed in the starting, which was the UX strategy. So we can see here that it is a new working model which will be combining the real-time insights with analytics and transactional follow-up activities to allow the better and the faster decisions. Then it is providing us with the user experience, which is the new consumer grade, responsive and consistent user interface supporting the multiple channels. So we can use it with the Suite on HANA, that is a new working model for Suite on HANA. Then SAP branding, which means the coherent visual identity and theming. Then built on the SAP UI5, which is following the responsive design principles, and it is a end-to-end experience. That is, it is easy to find, explore, buy, install, use, and run using the SAP Smart Business apps. So the key benefits of my SAP Smart Business powered by SAP HANA are: it will provide a new working model addressing the new management principles of being more close to the operation. So it provides the real-time visualization of the key performance indicators, including the trends, thresholds, and alerts. It provides the real-time analysis of the variances and the deviations on high-volume data. Then the deep integration with collaboration tools for accelerated problem solving. Then it has the prediction capabilities based on the current as well as on the historical data. So the key benefits of my SAP Smart Business, it will help me to address the new management principle of being as close as possible to the operations. It will provide the role-based access to all the relevant information like the key performance indicators, news feeds, and the specific tasks, trends, alerts, and the like. Then it supports the end-to-end insight to the action scenarios, including the simulation and the forecasting. Then the users can easily adapt the user interface to their needs based on the drag and drop and a powerful tile catalog. So it is a new coherent and responsive user experience supporting multiple channels and form factors. So it is a color-coded visualization of the violated thresholds. It's an open framework, meaning the customers and the partners can define their own KPIs and integrate with the collaboration and the analytical tools. So basically, these are the key benefits of my SAP Smart Business apps. Now, the analytical app types. So basically we have the two types of analytical apps. The first one is the SAP Smart Business apps, which are closely monitored using your most important KPIs in real time and react immediately on the changes in market conditions or the operations. So basically my smart business apps, they will provide us the ability to closely monitor our KPIs. So it's good to note that the smart business apps are indeed the analytical apps. So we can think of them as enhanced analytical apps that offer us the real-time KPI data. And when you drill down, you do so into an analytical app. After that, we have the analytical apps, that is a predictive or the planning apps, which will provide the real-time information on the large volume data in a simplified front end. So there are approximately 84 apps under the analytical umbrella, out of which 69 are the smart business apps and 15 are analytical apps or the non-smart apps. So we can find the detailed list of all the SAP Fiori apps on our help portal, that is the help.sap.com/Fiori. So this is basically to provide an overview of what is the analytical app and what is a smart business app. After that, let's come to the architecture of my analytical and the smart business app. So in this screen, we can see that on the top we have the SAP web dispatcher. After that, we have the ABAP front-end server. Then we have the ABAP back-end server, and we have the HANA Access Engine. And in this case, we need to have the SAP HANA database as a mandatory database type. So we cannot use any DB similar to the transactional apps in analytical or the smart business apps. So we have to use the SAP HANA as a underlying database. So the SAP Fiori leverages the Access Engine by using the virtual data models. So within the Access Engine, there are two components, that is the HANA Live app content for this respective business suite and the Smart Business component with the KPI modeler. Within the HANA Live content, the VDM reuse content exists, which can be modified for extensibility purposes. Then on the left hand side, we have the ABAP front-end server, which contains the UI add-ons for the respective products used. We have the NetWeaver gateway with the OData enablement, the central UI add-on, and the KPI framework. So these front-end components have the read access to the backend data via a trusted RFC connection. Then if we take an end-to-end example of it, so say if a user will access SAP Fiori through their launchpad, they select an analytical app and that request will be sent to the web dispatcher, who will select the NetWeaver front-end server for HTTP request to load the UI layout. Then the OData call will be routed to the HANA Access Engine. In the HANA Access Engine, the business data is exposed through the well-defined database views operating directly on the tables of the business suite systems and transforming them into the consistent and easily understandable views. So the data will be sent back to the web dispatcher or the reverse proxy server, where it will assemble the data from both the front-end server and the Access Engine on the UI. So all of the content in the Access Engine comes from HANA Live, which is a mandatory prerequisite for a SAP Fiori analytical app. So the reason SAP decided to use the Access engine for the analytical app is because it is built-in application server included with SAP HANA. So we have the HANA Access engine, and as we can see here, it has two components inside it. That is the SAP Fiori app content and the VDM reuse content. So this is basically the architecture of my analytical and the smart business app. After that, let's see the HANA architecture, the high level view of a HANA architecture. So my HANA is an in-memory column oriented relational database. It is developed in C++ and designed to run on Linux servers. At a very high level, this slide details the architecture and the components of the HANA database. Other database management systems are typically either good at the transactional workloads or the analytical workloads, but not the both. When transactional systems are used for analytical workloads, they require the separation of workloads into different databases, that is the OLAP and OLTP. So the power of SAP HANA is that it consolidates these two landscapes into a single database, providing a lower total cost of ownership in addition to the speed. So basically, like in a traditional system, we need the OLAP and the OLTP if we want to do a transactional analysis, or we want to do the analytical analysis. But with SAP HANA, we can use the single system which will provide us the power of both OLTP and the OLAP. Now let's discuss the components first. So the client applications, on the client applications, we have the SAP HANA applications can accommodate multiple clients across multiple instances to provide access to the useful data across a number of related applications. So as we can see here, we have the multiple client applications. After that, SAP HANA can connect via the Access engine, which is an optional module through HTTPS communication. So after that, we have the index server. So my index server contains the data stores and engines for processing the data, considered the heart of HANA. Then we have the preprocessor server. So the preprocessor server is used by the index server to analyze the text data and extract the data from text when called via the search option. Then we have the statistics server. So it is basically to collect the information about the status, performance and resource usage from all the components. Then we have the name server. So the name server basically contains the information about the topology of HANA system. So in a distributed setup, knows where the components are running and what data is on which server to decrease the time associated with the re-indexing. So Access engine is a lightweight application server that is fully integrated into SAP HANA. It provides the access to the SAP HANA DB by transforming the persistence model stored in the DB into a consumption model for clients exposed via HTTP. So app content is part of HANA Live. Using the HANA modeler, we can import the packages if they aren't there. So HANA Live is built for the SAP Business Suite and provides the enhanced quality for analytics across all the Business Suite applications by enabling the industry standard access to the SAP data through easily understandable data models. Then we have the HANA Studio. HANA Studio runs on the Eclipse platform and is a collection of applications for the HANA Appliance software. It enables the technical users of the SAP HANA database to create and manage the user authorizations and create new or modify existing models of the database. It is a client tool which can be used to access the local or the remote SAP HANA databases. So the boxes which we can see here in the golden color, so they are what the SAP Fiori leverages. So the Access engine, HANA Live and the HANA Studio. So we will see them into the more detailed in the further slides. After that, we have the SAP HANA Live. So SAP HANA Live was formerly known as the SAP HANA Analytics Foundation. It provides the enhanced quality for analytics across all the business suite applications by enabling the industry standard access to the SAP data through data models. So the data models are optimized for analytical purposes using the views in the HANA database. So the views form a virtual data model that customers and the partners can reuse. So my HANA Live is included with the suite on HANA, but it is made available as a separate package to be installed. For SAP Fiori apps, SAP HANA Live uses the integrated scenario, meaning the SAP HANA Live shares an SAP HANA appliance with the business suite system. So my SAP HANA Live leverages the virtual data models to consume the business suite source data without the data replication, latency, or the redundancy. So this allows for the operational reporting and the quick answers to the ad hoc business questions. Then a virtual data model is a structured representation of HANA database views in SAP HANA Live for business suite and follows the consistent modeling rules. So my SAP HANA Live, formerly it was known as the SAP HANA Analytics Foundation. So the advantages of SAP HANA Live compared to the regular reporting tool is that it is open. So when we say open, what does that mean is that it is based on the standard mechanisms such as SQL or the MDX. So no BW modeling or the ABAP programming required. Secondly, it is uniform. So when we say uniform, it means that it has a common reporting across business suite applications. Then it is the virtual data models hide the complexity and customizing dependencies of our business suite data model to make the data available without requiring a deep understanding of my SAP models. Then it is fast. So HANA Live for Business Suite features SAP HANA as the underlying computing engine to enable the fast analytics on high data volumes. Then it is a real time. So all the reporting happens on primary data. So there is no need to wait for data warehousing loading jobs to finish. So the cycle time from recording to reporting is dramatically reduced in this case. Then we have the virtual data models. So the virtual data models are what HANA is all about. So they provide a way to slice and dice the massive amounts of data stored in the HANA database. So the business data is exposed through well-defined database views operating directly on the tables of the SAP HANA suite systems and transforming them into the consistent and easily understandable views. So these views can be consumed directly by the rich client UIs without any additional software layer in between. So in this slide, we can see that there are three views that encompass a VDM. That is the private view, reuse view, and the query view. So the query view is the highest level view. It's the one that can be modified, and these views come with SAP HANA Live. So SAP Fiori analytical apps all come with the pre-delivered query views, and we can see what views come with which specific app in the help. So the smart business apps need additional HANA roles or the privileges assigned to them. Then the private views, these are the SAP views and no one can modify or touch these views. Then we have the reuse views. So these are the heart of the virtual data models. They expose the business data in a well-structured, consistent, and comprehensible way. So they are designed for reuse of other views and must be consumed directly by the analytical tools. Then the query views, they are always the top view in a hierarchy of views and are not designed for reuse in another views. So they are designed for the direct consumption by an analytical application or a generic analytical tool like the business object tool. So then enhancing the views, this is like we cannot directly enhance the pre-delivered views. We must first make a copy of the view and then extend it. So if we want to enhance any existing view, so we cannot directly enhance it, rather we have to first make a copy of it, and only after making the copy we can enhance the already delivered views with our apps. Now, after that we have the HANA Studio. So it is an Eclipse-based development and administration tool for working with SAP HANA. So the Studio is used to develop the native applications that can take advantage of the benefits provided by the SAP Access engine. It provides a number of dedicated perspectives that are aimed at the application developer. So my HANA Studio is a collection of applications for the SAP HANA appliance software. It enables technical users to manage the database, to create and manage the user authorizations, and to create or modify the existing models of data. It is a client tool that can be used to access the local or the remote SAP HANA databases. So the Studio provides an environment for administration, modeling, and data provisioning. So we'll go into the SAP HANA Studio and we will see like how it works in the later sessions. Then we have the KPI modeler. So my KPI modeler is a tool that allows us to model the KPI and the report tiles that enable the targeted monitoring of key business data using the SAP Fiori Launchpad. So we can define the KPIs and reports to which we can apply the numerous different evaluations so that we can respond to the ever-changing business landscape. So we can configure the drill down views as well using the KPI modeler. So this is a tool which is delivered as part of SAP Business, SAP Smart Business. So this tool will allow us to model the KPIs and the report tiles that enable the monitoring of the key business data using the SAP Fiori Launchpad. So this is a guided tool which is very easy to use. After that we have the drill down application. So it consists of one or more detailed views of the KPI that are displayed when we click the KPI tile or when we click and select a chart or table object. So it is delivered with the KPI modeler as part of the SAP Smart Business. It is possible to configure a custom drill down application. So basically the generic drill down application is part of the KPI modeler tool. So we can configure the custom drill down applications. So if you can see in the screenshot here, so in this configuration tile we can see the 3 view tabs. So with the drill down configuration we can define up to the 7 views of for a KPI on the subsequent level. So the help documentation of SAP Fiori contains the extensive information on both of these tools if we are interested. So we can go there and we can read it from there. After that, let's come to the configuration of the analytical apps. So basically the configuration of the analytical apps contains the 4 steps. The first one is the configuration of my SAP Web Dispatcher. Then the specification of the user authentication mode and enabling SSO. Then the configuration of a BAP front-end server. And lastly, we have the configuration of access to KPI data. So let's see these all these 4 steps one by one. So first of all, we have the configuration of Web Dispatcher. So the SAP Web Dispatcher lies between the internet browser and a SAP system. So the job of a SAP Web Dispatcher is to act as a reverse proxy and appropriately direct the queries from the browser to the appropriate system. So by acting in this role, the SAP Web Dispatcher has the ability to reject or accept the connection. So if it accepts the connection, it balances the load in the web systems to ensure an even distribution across the servers. So my SAP Web Dispatcher knows which backend to direct browser queries by routing the rules that have been set up and define which URL is forwarded to which system. So it is the entry point for all the HTTP requests into our system, which contains one or more web application servers. So in the SAP Fiori analytical app landscape, we need to communicate with both the web front-end server and the SAP HANA system through a browser. So in order to ensure the queries from the browser are correctly directed to the systems, we need a reverse proxy server. So SAP recommends that we should use the SAP Web Dispatcher as a reverse proxy server going forward, and the referencing the SAP help for SAP Fiori will support this method. So how we need to configure the web dispatcher is in the prerequisites we have that we should have the successfully implemented the SAP Web Dispatcher and enabled it for multiple systems and enable the single sign-on. Then we have the procedure for it. So in the procedure we have to configure the SAP Web Dispatcher to use HTTPS request and define the highlighted routing rules in each system. So we can see here that we have the different routing rules which are there. So basically we have to enable these routing rules in each system. So once the prerequisites are met, we will configure the SAP Web Dispatcher to use HTTPS request by defining the routing rules in both the ABAP front-end server and the HANA system to determine which URL is forwarded to which system. So 3 routing rules need to be defined in the SAP NetWeaver Gateway system, and 2 routing rules need to be defined in the HANA Studio. So these are the 3 routing rules which are there in the SAP NetWeaver Gateway. So we can see these routing rules in the screen. And similarly for SAP HANA, so we have the 2 routing rules which need to be defined, which are the HANA and the HBA. After that, let's come to the specifications of the user authentication.